fish report. Hanging at the fish report. Hanging at the fish report. Hanging at the fish report. For your latest news in high school sports, tune in to the fish report. Don't need no bed, don't need no pull. When you tune in to the fish report. Hanging at the fish report. Hanging at the fish report. You got Craig and TK and Heather D tuned in at the fish report.
Coming to you live from Studio F in Russia, Ohio. It's the Fish Report Live Show with your hosts, Craig Fissinger and Ken Francis.
Happy Thursday, everyone, and welcome to another Fish Report Live. I'm Craig Fissinger. That's Ken Francis. Thanks for joining us. We're your host. Back in our sound room, we've got TK on the soundboard. He's back this week. Heavy D's behind the cameras out in Studio R. It's Covey, got the whole crew. Ken, another fun week on FRL, the last day of October, and our last show of the fall sports season.
Yes, it is, Craig. Hard to believe. You know, it's Halloween night. The ghosts and goblins are all out and about. It's cold. The World Series is over with. And, we're in the postseason of fall sports. Craig, we got a lot to talk about tonight. We're going to talk a little bit about the last weekend in the regular season of high school football. We're going to set the stage for some terrific regional volleyball action coming up beginning tonight. And we got a great interview lined up, Craig, with one of the most respected coaches in the game, track and field and cross country, and that's the head coach of the Big Orange, our friend over at West Liberty-Salem, Coach Ann Vogel. She's got her team primed for Craig, a big race in less than 48 hours. And they're the defending state champion in track and field. They're going to try to carry it over to the cross-country meet in Hebron this coming weekend. So really excited to talk to Coach Vogel and hear about her quest this weekend.
Yeah, she's been an annual guest on this show, I think, for the last 9 years since we started doing this thing. And she's got quite a challenge on her hands there with the two-time defending champs over there at Minster. They're the number one ranked team in the state. Of course, they're the favorites, it looks like. And you got Fort Laramie just down the road that has a pretty good team as well, ranked number 3. So should be quite a battle between those three schools as we're expecting. We'll talk more about that later with her. But let's get things started, Ken, heading out to Studio R and checking in with Covey. And Covey, you know, it's the last show of our fall sports season. It's also the last week of the regular season of football. You've been talking MAC all year. You've been nailing about all your picks every week. And we got, I don't know, do we have something left to play for in Week 10? Maybe just give us an idea of the games you're interested in this last week and what we can look forward to maybe going into the playoffs next week.
Yeah, so it's really about seeding and MAC title implications are the big thing when you look at the MAC this week. Definitely going to be split there, probably no doubt about it. You look at this slate of games. You got obviously the big one. You look at Coldwater Marion. That's the big one of the week. That's the Week 10 battle that everyone's been waiting for. Everyone was hoping that they'd both be 9-0 going this game. That's not the case. It's going to be a close battle. I like the Flyers there to earn their MAC title spot. So winner of that, it will be a MAC champion. Looking at the top, Delphus St. John's, Anna, they're going in separate directions. Rockets blast off here to back-to-back MAC titles, get their second overall MAC title under Coach Marino, and we'll go in with a high they'll have a home game for the playoff. They've already clinched a playoff spot. Fort Recovery Versailles, two evenly matched teams here. I like Versailles in this one at home with their with Fort Recovery's defense struggling a little bit this year. You got Minster, New Bremen. New Bremen probably will make the playoffs. Doubt they'll host a home game, but they should get in at 7-3, their first playoff appearance since 2004. I do like the Wildcats. The Wildcats of Minster might be 9-1 with the win over Marion and not even host a home game. That's how rough Region 23 is there. Then you close out with Parkway and St. Henry, two teams that won't make the playoffs. I like St. Henry here, just rounding out the season at 2-8 for Coach Brad Luthman. A little disappointing season, but definitely going to have to just move in a new direction next to our very young team with a bright future for sure.
Hey, Covey, speaking of Region 23, you talked about that. How about the story about Gibsonburg, a team that's 9-0 heading into Week 10? It could possibly be kept out of the playoffs just due to their I guess, what is their strength of schedule? What's the story there?
Yeah, the strength of schedule for Gibsonburg hasn't been very great. They've only, I think, won one game with a team with a over 500 record. So it really comes into effect there. It really who you play and who they beat really does come into effect. So that playoff formula is working there a little bit. You do think if they're 10-0, though, they probably do deserve a spot in the playoffs. So if they do end up getting 10-0 and do get left out of the playoffs, it'll be unfortunate for them because you think no matter if you've even beat the 10 worst teams in the region, you still probably deserve a slot. But it might not work out that way. But you just got to be fortunate in who you beat. And a lot of times it's luck, but it happens. So that Region 23 is just the best region of any region, the deepest region of any region in Ohio.
Kobe, let me throw something on you here, which could be very interesting the first week of the playoffs. You know, you got potentially the two co-champions of the MAC, the Anna Rockets and the Minster Wildcats, who did not face off against each other this year in league play. Could they meet the first round of the playoffs?
Yeah, they could, and actually that's where I think it is about lined up right now. They would meet if it ended last week, and it would be on Anna's home turf, and that's very interesting. You just go up right up 119 there. You know, Minster, Anna playing two teams that didn't even play in the regular season you're talking about. That would be a great matchup. I'm sure I might float some of my predictions since this is our last fall sports episode here on Fish Report. Maybe float them, keep people updated on my thoughts and opinions on that. But it'd be definitely a great game, an early round matchup. And you think about it, I believe they're keeping the playoffs on Friday nights, which is great because you think next week the MAC could just have a blast with possibly having a team in the Final Four for volleyball. Friday nights when the games are getting played at the Nutter Center, so that's great. And then you've got MAC football playoffs on that Friday night too. So it's going to be a blast at the end of next week to see what happens in volleyball and football. And that Anna Minster game, if that does line up to be the matchup, look for that to be a great matchup, and look for Anna to get their second ever playoff win.
Kobe, one more question. I want to ask you about the football and playoffs. We've talked a little CCC this season, and we had our Canham coach, Jason Schondelmeyer, on this show. We've talked about Fort Laramie, talked about Covington a little bit. Any quick thoughts on the CCC as they head into the playoffs next week? Yeah,
the CCC, the big thing you're going to have to look at is the Covington Bucks. They're up there in Region 24, going to get into the playoffs there with a big win over our Canham the other week. Look for them to be a potential spoiler and make a run. This is a legit Covington team that took Laramie down to the last second there. Arcanum looks like they're on the outside looking in. They did just lose Friday, 24-22. I'm kind of blanking at the moment who the opponent was. I believe it maybe have been Mississinawa Valley, who's having a great season as well for them, 6-3 after just 30 consecutive losses. I mean, credit the Blackhawks there. But it looks like Arcanum, despite that 7-0 start, we maybe kind of hoaxed Coach Schondelmeyer, and maybe they just weren't quite ready yet for all the pressure that came with what it had. It looks like they're on the outside looking in. It's going to take a lot for them to make the playoffs, even if they do end up with a good 8-2 record.
Well, Kobe, listen, I know you got to get going. I know you have to get down to Northmont High School because you got a volleyball game you got to announce coming up here in a short while. But can you hang around for just a bit while we talk some volleyball? I do want to go over that Division III and Division IV bracket and get your comments on a few of these games, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's good.
Well, let's start out with Division III. Like I said, I know we got to get going here, but Ken, big Division III game coming up down there at Kettering Fairmont here in just at 7:30. One of our neighbors over there at Versailles. Can you go over that bracket real quickly for us?
Sure. The first game of that regional, Kobe, you got CHCA taking on Fredericktown, but the game we're interested in is the second game. The Versailles Tigers taking on the Miami East Vikings. You know, two teams there that we're very familiar with. Actually, our Russia Raiders played both of them teams. Who do you like there, Kobe? Versailles, finished, I think, about middle of the pack in the MAC, but, again, taking it to these Division III teams in volleyball and just showing the strength that they have.
I like the Tigers here, and I like how Kenzie Bruggeman has her squads playing at tournament time the past couple of years. I didn't expect them to be state champions last year, and they shocked me last year when they pulled that off. Coach Bruggeman did just such a great job, and all centers around Lindsey Winter, the big hitter there, going down to play for the University of Dayton Flyers next year. It all centers around them. Miami East, they're going to bring a great game. These guys played in a regional finals 2 years ago, back when the Flyers had current Nittany Lion Johnny Parker. Miami East fell before Versailles ended up winning the state title. But maybe Miami East needs to bring that band down there, that TK experience there when he called the game there over over in Miami East. So I think it'll be a great game, but I got the Tigers in 4 over there.
Well, I know TK was mentioning names over there like Hawkins and Kinnison and Giacomet over there at Miami East. Lots of stars that they had there. So I see that as a very good game. I'm interested to see how that one's going to turn out here coming up shortly. But let's jump ahead now to Division 4. Start up there in the Northwest. You know, we talked to Coach Tricia Rosenbeck from St. Henry on this show last week. She's got a big game against New Bremen, against Diana Kramer, 2 co-coaches of the year in the MAC. How do you see that one working out there, Covey?
That gym at Elida High School is going to be filled. There's not going to be an empty seat there, and it really is going to reflect the first regular season game. I think it's going to mirror it exactly the same. It's going to be a 5-set game. Who comes down to execute in that 5th set? There's so much talent on each side. It's crazy. It makes college coaches' mouths water. You're going to look at the Vaughn triplets from St. Henry. You look at that I forget her name. Bruns last week. Hannah Bruns from going to Findlay. You look at the Vaughn triplets. Just so much talent littered there on St. Henry's side. And then you look at New Bremen. You got Macy Putoff going to Indiana Wesley and Claire Pape going to Indiana Purdue Fort Wayne, and Josie Reinhardt. She's the X factor on the front line for New Bremen, going to the University of Tiffin. She can hit like no other from that 10-foot line. And New Bremen's got St. Henry 2 years in a row, and they've beaten them and knocked them out of the tournament before New Bremen's went on to go to state both years. This is the year that St. Henry gets over the hill. They win a 5-set thriller, and I think St. Henry rolls on. They go to the Nutter Center next week and are in contention to get their 8th state title in school history. I think St. Henry's just a little deeper. These are 2 great teams, 2 of the best in the state. This is a state final-worthy matchup in the regional semifinals.
That's great stuff right there, Covey. And so you see the winner of that game moving on to the state. Let's talk a little bit about the Northmont Regional. The great regional here. It's 3 of the 4 teams from the Shelby County Athletic League, Covey. You got Russia and Fairlawn. You know, Fairlawn, the Cinderella team here in the regional. You talk about Russia and the youth that they have and what a great job Coach Watkins has done with the Raiders. You know, look at Fairlawn Jets. They finished 6th in the Shelby County Athletic League, finishing 2-10 in the regular season. Here they are sitting in the regional semifinals. And then the second game there, you got the Fort Loramie Redskins, very strong team this year, taking on Fairfield Christian Academy. You know, I think everybody likes the Redskins in that one to move on easily to the regional finals. Yep. Who do you got in that first game? You know, obviously we're pulling for our Russia Raiders. Coach Watkins doing a great job with the youth of that team this year. All those freshmen, Kobe, they say at this point in the season they're no longer freshmen, right?
Yeah, I was going to take Fort Loramie in that first game, not knowing much about Fairfield Christian. I'm going to be calling these games for NK Toko, and just short shout out to my former coworker at NK Toko, Ron Cruzy, passed away of a heart attack there on Monday. If you're listening up there, Ron, we miss you. Just did a game with him 3 weeks ago, so he was like a grandpa to me. So certainly gonna miss you. But anyway, just going with the game, Russia Fairlawn. It's going to be big here for the Raiders, just with that youth and inexperience. And Fairlawn hasn't made it this far in tournament for a long, long time. And you look at the connections on each side. You know, Coach Watkins, a Fairlawn graduate. His assistant, Olivia Cummings, a Fairlawn graduate. And you look at Ashley Miller, formerly Ashley Francis, a 2004 Fairlawn graduate. You know, you got to throw the personal feelings aside, and you got to go to your big hitters. You know, Russia rode Ashley Scott to victory there in that district final. I think they got to do that again. You got to go with what you know, basically. You got to look at players like Jessica Abke on the Fairlawn side, but I think the Raiders just have too much talent for Fairlawn to overcome. I look for it to be a Frogs and Cabbage Heads matchup there in a regional final. Russia, if they win, gets their first regional final appearance in school history, and it's going to be my first volleyball game for Russia in a month, and I'm excited. I hope they win, but Fairlawn's had a great season. Good luck to them, but go Raiders.
All right, Kobe. Well, listen, I know you got to get going, so we'll let you go. Just want to say thanks for everything you've done this fall season. Done a great job covering MAC football. I know that's what we've talked about the most. Appreciate your thoughts on the volleyball as well.
Thanks.
All right, and Kobe done a great job for us, Ken. How about those Botkins Trojans soccer team, though, Wednesday night?
You know, what a year they're having, Craig. You know, first they go to state in golf out of nowhere, and now here they are. They're going to state in boys cross country. They're in the regional finals in boys soccer. You know, you're talking about a small school system right here, Craig. They're going to state and cross country regional finals in soccer. Congratulations, Botkins Trojans. You guys are having a fantastic year. You've got a lot of good young athletes over there in Botkins right now, Craig, and they're riding them and they're having fun.
Yeah, we're big fans of that program over there, and of course we're rivals of them as well. But like to see them doing well, and then soccer and cross country and all those sports. So, well, listen, we're going to take a short break, but stay right there. We've covered some football, we've covered volleyball, did a little soccer here. When we come back, we're going to talk state cross country, including that big interview with West Liberty-Salem coach Ann Vogel.
Open stage at the leaving van. Music starts at 8 o'clock. You can find us here every Wednesday night. It's usually the same cats every week, but I can't tell you all their names. Teacher, cat, and a junkie, all waiting for time to play. Everybody here's got something that we're trying to leave behind. We're all a little broken, for a place to hide. Get no answers, don't ask any questions. We're all here just looking for a high. Yeah, we're all beautifully broken here tonight.
And welcome back to the second half of Fish Report Live. Before the break, we were hitting all the sports, Ken. We talked some football, we talked some volleyball, we hit a little soccer. Now we're going to talk a little state cross country. And as we head into this week's big race over there at Hebron at National Trail Raceway, let's take a quick look at the local boys teams. Why don't you go over and tell our viewers who we've got locally running over there at the Speedway?
Absolutely, Craig. You know, you're going to have a lot of local talent running, and we got the Anna Rockets, Craig, the Botkins Trojans, and the Minster Wildcats as well. So, you know, 3 local teams there that will be competing. You know, I like Anna, you know, Craig. They've got a really good team this year. They've been solid. You know, Botkins, again, like I said before, having a great year in a lot of sports, and then the Wildcats as well. So, individually wise, Craig, from the Fort Loramie Redskins, we got Colton Gasson. From Houston, we got Blake Jacobs. Coldwaters, we got Isaiah Schock, and then from Parkway, we got Kyle Rose. So some good talent being for the state championship over there, and wish the best of luck to all those local runners, and hope they have great weather, and I hope that it's a fast track.
Yeah, you know, Anna, Lucas Smith, we talked about him last week and in the last couple of weeks. One guy that's done exceptionally well, won the last 3 postseason races, won the regional race, the district, and as well as the league meet. Yeah. And he's a guy that's I'm looking forward to seeing how he can do at the state meet against some of the state's best. A very good runner, that's for sure. Let's check out the girls here real quick, too, and we'll see who locally is running there, Ken. And how about this? The top 3 teams in the state, Minster at number 1, West Liberty at number 2, and Fort Loramie at number 3, all going against each other this weekend. Can't wait to see that. Also from the MAC, we got Versailles and Delphi St. John. Individually, the hometown girl, Becca Seger, is going to be running, as well as our neighbor over there at House and Ava Knopf. And you got a couple of MAC girls there, and Haley Alleg from Coldwater and Leah Heitkamp from St. Henry. 20 teams, 41 non-team individuals, just like on the boys' side. And speaking of those West Liberty-Salem Tigers, or we like to call them the Big Orange, but they should, I think they'll give the Minster Wildcats, the 2-time defending champs, a run for their money, and they've got that good of a team. And one big reason for their success, of course, is their head coach. She's been an annual guest on this show, I think, for the last, like I said, 8-9 years.
Quite a few years.
Quite a few years, that's for sure. She's Ann Vogel. We're happy to have her live right now. Coach, thanks for joining us on Fish Report Live.
Hi, guys. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Well, congratulations on your third straight regional championship. I know you got to be excited about that, Coach. You're heading back to state for the fourth year in a row, I think the 9th time overall. And, you know, Coach, we were talking about this, I know, a while back, you and I, but you know, the small schools, it's so tough to get back there. And as I look around the state, there's lots of programs that are rich in tradition that aren't going this year. And one good example locally here is the Fort Army boys. They've won 2 of the last 3 state titles, and this year they're sending the one individual. Coach, what does it take to keep a small school program on top year after year like you've done?
You know, I like you said, it is difficult being a small school. You don't have the numbers to pull from to get kids to run. But I think, you know, for West Liberty in particular, it's a tradition that's dated back from the 70s when we won the 4 state titles starting in 76. And then, you know, fast forward to now, we have a youth running program in the summer headed up by Mandy Locke that, you know, really gets kids interested in running. We have a great middle school coach, and Aaron Locke, Mandy's husband. So, you know, there's just that tradition there, and you know, I think maybe people would argue at this point, but I think West Liberty-Salem is known for its running, and kids, you know, want to be a part of that.
Well, one thing I love about your program, Coach, is I see the family atmosphere that you create, and I've seen it in person at meets. I see it sometimes on social media. As a matter of fact, I saw on social media here recently where prior to the regional meet, you had one of the legends over there. You mentioned those state titles back in the 70s. Earl Zillis spoke to your team there prior to the regional meet, and I believe you might even had a speaker this week speak to the kids. Tell us what that's all about, and you know, what do they say to your athletes?
You know, well, 10 years ago, 2009, when my daughter Megan was a freshman, Corey Frost, who ran with Earl Zillis and was an alum, he showed up at our home invitational, and I said, "Hey, would you come and speak to the kids at some point?" And at that time, he was working in Cleveland and Florida, but he goes, "I can make it for the regional meet." And for us, you know, we didn't even think we were going to get out that year, but he came and gave this great talk, and the girls just loved it. And so we started to make it a tradition that, you know, we have an alum come. And then Corey started bringing Earl, and you know, Corey was a lawyer. We lost Corey last year, but he was a lawyer, so he loved to talk, and Earl maybe not so much, but now Earl gives some of the best speeches you'll ever hear, and, you know, just talks about, you know, the tradition of the program and believing in yourself, and you know, emphasizing that, you know, you belong here. You've put in the hard work, and you deserve to be at state. So, you know, go out and enjoy the run. So, but it's always fun to have them, and it's getting to the point we have some new kids, a couple move-ins this year, and they didn't even know who Earl was, which is kind of funny to me because, you know, I grew up with Earl, and everyone seems to know Earl. But just kind of a neat tradition to have speakers and to see that this has been going on well before these kids were even born. It's something we do. And then today we had Olympic gold medalist in the 4x4 and silver medalist in the 400, world record holder Butch Reynolds came and spoke to the kids. Yeah, it was really neat. He came and talked to our track girls before state last year, and he's just a wealth of information and such a motivator, and it really emphasized, you know, the attitude is everything. And it's good for kids to hear those things and, you know, kind of get outside their world. I think we're so stuck on our phones so much that we, you know, sometimes forget that there's bigger things going on.
Coach, good evening to you. This is Ken. Appreciate you being on our show tonight. Let's talk a little bit about your roster. We're going to start with who your top runner was the last couple races, and that's sophomore Megan Adams. You know, she wasn't your top runner most of the season, not because she wasn't there. It was because she couldn't run. She was injured. And I know at one time you thought maybe she was you were going to lose her for the whole year. I know enough about running. I know the Adams family. It didn't surprise me that she came back for the end of the season, and she's running very good right now. But talk a little bit about her recovery and what she's been through this year.
You know, we got some really bad news. I think Megan, even before Bob Scholl, her foot was bugging her and just didn't say anything. She's a tough cookie, and she just thought it was just pain. And it got to the point after a workout that I could tell something was wrong. And you know, we thought maybe it wasn't much, and went to one doctor and thought it was just tendonitis, but moved on. And got an X-ray, and it was a complete fracture of her third metatarsal. I mean, kind of still makes my stomach turn when I think about seeing that X-ray. It's just a big black line, and I was kind of told at first, didn't think this season would be a possibility, but this doctor from Ohio State got her in a boot, and she wore the boot for 3 weeks. He took her out of the boot for a week, and said, "Let's see what happens in this week." And he gave her the green light for our district meet. So she kept working hard. She swam up until she went into the boot. The doctor didn't want her to swim for 3 weeks, but she was swimming before that. Then she was literally riding her bicycle in a boot on the Ohio Caverns course up and down the hills and the grass, which is not an easy workout. So she really worked hard to stay in shape. And with Megan, it's a lot about attitude. She's a go-getter, and I think, even if she was told she couldn't run, I have a feeling it would have been hard for me to keep her off the course this weekend. But yeah, it's exciting. We were really blessed to have her back, and it was definitely a shot of vitamin C for the whole team.
Coach, listen, your team's been solid all year. Even during the part of the season when you did not have Megan Adams running, your team was still very good. Tell us a little bit about the rest of your roster and what you're expecting from them on Saturday.
Sure. Well, I'll start out with our seniors. Megan's sister Grace Adams, and then Lydia Mayle. They've became our 9th and 10th runners in our program that have made state, qualified for state all 4 years. So we have some great senior leadership there. And then we have juniors, Caitlin Stapleton and Maddie Bayhan, and along with Grace and Megan, they were on our state championship 4x8 team and team title that we had in track. And then we have, who am I leaving out there? I don't think I talked about Megan. And then we have our 6th and 7th runners are sophomore Mandolin Weaver and then freshman Maggie Davis. So that kind of rounds out our top 7. And we only had 11 girls this year, so didn't have a lot of depth, but have some really solid runners.
Coach, a lot of teams are just happy to make it to the state meet, but with the Big Orange, there's always high expectations. And this week in the Springfield newspaper there, an interview with Grace Adams, she said, "We're going for it." Is this the mentality of the Big Orange? When you've got a great program like you've got, you're well respected across the state, the target gets bigger and bigger every year. And I've been through it a little bit. Rushi's had our share of success as well, and the bigger that target gets, the more fun it is, right?
Absolutely. And I would expect nothing less from Grace than to give that answer that we're going to go for it. I mean, that's the attitude we've had. We went to a team camp up in Tiffin that Ron Martin puts on every year, and we have a big team meeting that lasts a few hours, and we have a vision board where, they write goals, and one of the goals was to win state. I mean, right out of the box, and that's back in, early August. And, I think I wouldn't be doing my job as a coach if I didn't put them in a position that they believed in themselves enough that they could win it. So I loved that statement. When I read that the next morning, I thought that was great.
Let me ask you, you talk about it. Obviously, it's not an easy task. And right. You've got 2 local teams right there with you. The Minster Wildcats, obviously, thick in tradition, and also the Fort Loramie Redskins, very thick in tradition, So a lot of people looking forward to this race on Saturday. And just real quick, what do you expect, I guess, from them other 2 teams as well?
Both those teams just have a rich tradition at the state meet, and Minster obviously has won so many titles I can't even keep track. But Fort Loramie last year, we beat them at district and regional, and they turned around and beat us at state. So we know what they're capable of. That wasn't lost on us. That we know that Fort Loramie's, they're tough, and they're going to come. It's going to be a dogfight. And I also want to throw in Liberty Center into that mix. I think those 4 teams, us included, it's going to be a dogfight, and going to be a lot of fun. And all I can ask for my girls is to give it their all, and if they can leave it all on the course and have no regrets, let the chips fall where they may.
I'm glad you mentioned Liberty Center. Their coach, Coach Atkinson actually was on this show years ago, and he certainly is ready for that state meet every year. I've seen him there a lot of years. He's brought home a few gold trophies as well, and I'm sure they're going to be ready as well.
Yeah, so, he's a great coach.
Yeah, one more question before we let you go. And Ken talked about that target on you getting bigger. I'm going to take the target off you here for a second and talk about how about the performance of Addie Engel, a senior over there at Catholic Central at the regional meet, breaks a 16-year-old record of a girl that we knew very well, Sunny Olding there at Minster. And I know she's a competitor of yours, but she's also in your conference, the Ohio Heritage Conference, and you got to be awful proud of her.
Oh, we love Addie. The girls love Addie, and her sister Bridget. They're all good friends. But yeah, Addie is something special. And you know, what amazes me with Addie is just the improvement she's made. If you go back and look at times from her freshman year to this year, the improvement she's made. I mean, she's consistently been in the 17s all year. It's not like, oh, maybe here at a fast course or over here at another fast course. She's been running in the 17s all year. I mean, she's the real deal. And another amazing fact about that is she plays soccer as well. So they just lost, I think, to Sidney Lehman last week in the district finals maybe, but her mileage isn't super high. But so I just think she's just got a competitive spirit. I mean, she grew up swimming and playing soccer, and she goes out there, and if you kind of watch her, she has a little grin on her face when she's running. I think she really loves it.
Listen, Coach, that's great stuff. I know you've had a busy night, lots of interviews tonight. I'm glad you saved the best for last.
Absolutely.
And, you know, we wish you and the Big Orange the best of luck. You know, it's less than 48 hours right now from race time. So get that team prepped, get them ready to go, and good luck to you.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. I hope to see you guys there.
See you, Coach.
Take care.
All right. Take care. Bye.
All right, that was the head coach of the Big Orange there, Ann Vogel, again, an annual guest on this show. And I think they're going to race this weekend. If you remember last year, they had to delay things a week because of the rain. Got a little rain earlier this week, but I think things are going to be okay for Saturday. Maybe a little cold, but should be good.
Yeah.
So listen, let's head back to the sound room for one last time here in the fall sports season and check in with TK and Heavy D. Glad to have TK back this week. On vacation last week. And TK, I don't know. I know you just got in here recently, flew in from the other side of the world, but have any time to maybe look at the SCA athletes still in action and pick a star of the week?
Oh, yeah, I've been keeping track, even though I was out of the area, enough to know what's going on. You guys gave a little teaser, though you may not have known it. I got to go with probably the hottest sports, at least boys sports team or school rather, in SCAL this fall with the Botkins Trojans, and go with their soccer team. I always like to say defense wins championships, and one of their staunchest players on that defense is a freshman, Carson Motter, their goalie. He's helped lead that team to an 18-0-2 record. Shut out Cincinnati Marymount tonight in a 1-0, or rather last night in a 1-0 victory that gets them to the regional finals, their first district championship in soccer history, 18 years there. Great team overall, but it all starts with a good goalie and a good defense, and I'll give it to Carson Motter, the great freshman goalie up there, and the Botkins Trojans, and good luck to them this Saturday.
Great call.
Good call on that, TK. And Heavy D, I know you've got a daughter playing volleyball here in about an hour, so we got to get out of here and head down to Northmont. But before we do, any last mail this fall sports season?
Yep, growing up late 70s, early 80s was always a treat, especially on Saturday morning. A ton of cartoons, and they were always pretty good. The question this week is, did you have a favorite cartoon character on Saturday morning? And the answer is yes. I really liked the Super Friends. And one of my favorites on the Super Friends, not quite as common as the rest, but Apache Chief. He's at the 11 o'clock position here off to Superman's right. Apache Chief had the ability to grow in size, speak with animals. He was a master tracker, and he had enhanced natural intuition.
Nice.
Though that doesn't surprise me, Heavy D, but I got to admit, I never heard of Apache Chief. I've heard of Superman, but I've never heard of Apache Chief.
About that third round, him and his partner in crime was Elizabeth Pocahontas Warren.
What a wealth of information.
Now that I'm not so sure about, but it doesn't surprise me again coming out of you, Heavy D. Well, guys, listen, we got a volleyball game to get to, so let's shut this thing down for tonight and also for the fall season. It's been a lot of fun. I know we're going to be back here in a couple weeks ready for basketball season.
Hard to believe, basketball season.
Yeah, but I'm ready for it. We'll have to recharge our batteries here for a couple weeks. We do want to say special thanks to our guest, Ann Vogel, for joining us on the show. Look forward to seeing her team and the rest of the locals at the state meet this weekend. Thanks to the viewers out there, as always, for tuning in. Ken and I and this crew will be back again in a couple weeks for the winter sports season. Until then, have a great rest of the week, everyone.
Hanging at the fishing pond, hanging at the fishing pond, hanging at the fishing pond, hanging at the fishing pond. sports, tune in to the Fish Report. Don't need no bed, don't need no pull when you tune in to the Fish Report. Hanging at the Fish Report.